What's up, everybody? Welcome to the part two of the Run Your Mouth podcast. Never in Run Your Mouth podcasting history have we done two episodes in one day. Call it a double header. And for those listening to the audio version, it's going to be a triple header because after this double header part, I'm going to have the audio of the last time that we did the thing. We did the Hey Watch party. So I'm going to have the audio for that. Very experimental. You guys can see what you guys think. All right. Anyways, let's put an epic conclusion onto my whole rant from this morning with all the immigration talk about people playing politics, and then we're going to get into some new topics. To me, the playing politics is very similar to when Hillary Clinton was screaming, "This is Russian interference." Doesn't matter if this information is true. It came from Russia, and so therefore, these people almost treat it like evidence in court. Where, like in court, if prosecutors get evidence that you're 100% guilty, but they procure it in the wrong way, then they go, well, that's disqualified information. So politicians almost seem to try and do the exact same thing, where if you point out a flaw, even if the flaw is true, even if it needs to be addressed, they try and go, well, we don't need to address this because the way it was brought to our attention was in the improper way. And so instead of having an actual conversation about whether or not the item brought up is a problem, if it's something that should be addressed, there's a new conversation about the way it was brought to their attention. So this would be kind of my example. Imagine that there was like a building, and let's say it's like a really, really giant building, like the Empire State Building, and they were doing a meeting where they were going to address all the repairs that had to do in the building. It's the once-a-year annual meeting where they make all the decisions that they're going to make for the entire year for the building. And let's say that everyone was aware that it was the annual meeting and big decisions are going to be made. It's like who's going to get the super good bathroom, who's going to get the penthouse suite. It's like a lottery system where to keep everyone engaged, making sure that that they know that the overlords, they're going to make distributions. And so everyone's standing outside of the building. And then there's one guy, and he happens to know that there's a hole in the roof. And if somebody doesn't take care of that hole in the roof, the whole building, it's a downer. I mean, though he knows he's an engineer, he saw the hole in the roof, he's been sending emails, he's been trying to let everyone know about this hole in the roof. No one's been listening to him. And so while everyone's outside, gathered outside the meeting, the guy takes his pants off. And he's got a big old hairy cock, and everyone starts screaming, "Holy shit, what the fuck is going on here?" We're all standing around at the meeting. Well, put your big old dirty hairy cock away. And he goes, "No, I can't put away my big old dirty hairy cock because I know that there's a hole in the building." And then the police come and they grab him and then they're pulling him out of the crowd and he's yelling, "There's a hole in the roof. There's a hole in the roof. Everyone's got to know there's a hole in the roof. And I'm an engineer. Here are my credentials." And then they shove him into the back of the car. They put something on top of him so that not everyone's got to look at his big horse hairy cock anymore. And then they go to the meeting and they go, "Hey, there's a guy out there." And he was so concerned about what was going on, he took his pants off and got arrested. And so some people at the meeting go, well, maybe we should see, maybe this is the worst example ever, because why would you try and be alarmed about the horse hairy dick guy? All right, so let's change the example. At the same time, someone brings forward, they come into the door with evidence because they actually look it up. Some guy's concerned. He's like me. He's a nervous Jewy character. And he hears the guy talking about this hole in the roof. So he goes up to the roof and he sees, oh my God, there is a hole in the roof. And so he comes down to the meeting and he goes, "Guys, you're not going to believe it, but there's a hole in the roof." And they go, we don't care if there's a hole in the roof because that guy took his dick out in order to give us the information. And now you got a new debate here. If you've got good information that you should act on, should you ignore the good information on account of the fact that a guy took out his dick in public? That's an ethical question. And so you got the Dems on their side, and they're all like, we're playing politics here. I don't care if this is good information. I don't care if people are pouring in over the border. I don't care if it's a problem. You're playing a game here, and because you're gamemanship, we're going to punish you, and we're not going to address the issue. Whereas the other side's like, yeah, I have to play games because otherwise you're not going to recognize that there's an issue. You're going to continue to ignore it. And so the only way that we can possibly shed some light on the fact that we got a problem here is by me engaging in these games. Here was a line from the Wall Street Journal. There was an op-ed about this, and I enjoyed this line. This was from someone who's working in like New York City hospitals, because New York City, sanctuary state. I want to point out, because they're saying that this was human trafficking, that they lied to the immigrants. I'm willing to bet that this is what happened. They probably told them, hey, there's these sanctuary cities, accurate. And then I bet they said, you'll probably have better opportunities. If I were them, that's what I would say. If I was trying to lie to people and get them to go somewhere else, I wouldn't tell them you will get a job. I would say you'll have a better opportunity at it because this is a sanctuary city. And so there will be more government services that you are entitled to on account of the fact that it's a sanctuary city. Those are all accurate claims. The other thing that could be an accurate claim is, hey, there's less immigrants crossing over in those areas, so there's less policing of it. I mean, the sanctuary cities, that's all the sell you need. Hey, it's a sanctuary city. If you're here, you're at more risk of being prosecuted and deported. Whereas if you're up there, they tend to allow more people to stick around. I think the Wall Street Journal even had specific numbers on it that like 3 out of 4 people who end up in New York City end up being allowed to stay. I don't know if I had that stat right. But anyways, here was the line that I thought was interesting. You ready? Um, this was from someone working in the hospitals because they're dealing with some issues of a lot of these illegal immigrants in their hospitals. All right. Everyone is on board with wanting to help, but we don't have the staff. And I love this categorization, right? Where it's like every single other. So, like, they think that we're just evil. The rest of us, we just didn't want to help. These are the only individuals that they would love to help, but we just don't have the. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. Everyone's saying that we wish we lived in La La Land and that we had all the resources that no one ever had to work at all, and we could all go on TikTok and make up new genders. We could all play Magic the Gathering in our spare time and come up with new genders and new ways and rules for how you can interact with people. It's like rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Who gets to talk to who? Who gets to do this? Blue hair, pink hair, discover new hair colors. We would all love to live in a world where you could do that. And yes, so sure, I guess if we want to come off like nice people, from now on, we got to start every sentence with, hey, listen, I wish we lived in La La Land. I wish that everyone could be helped as much as the next person, but I just don't think we have the resources. Once again, I guess pointing to the fact that the gamemanship seems to be working because these people are starting to discover that there is a resources issue. All right, let's move on to our next topic. I've been loving, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a lot of videos online. Alex Stein, he's walking the streets. Politicians, they're just trying to report into work, and he's on the case. He's making them answer for some tough things that they normally wouldn't have to address. He's going after Granshaw, one guy for being a globalist. I don't remember what other videos I saw. And he does a great job with it. But then I saw some liberals getting after it, doing the exact same thing. Sadly, this video didn't load. But this one is particularly funny because they try and put up a video saying that, wow, is my memory not good sometimes? Who's oh yeah, that always helps me remember things. This is my chanting mantra for when I can't remember a name. I go and then it comes to me. Usually this works. I used to do this when I was like in school and I was taking tests. If I couldn't remember an answer, I would look up at the roof and I would go, I didn't get it right. It's like a specific frequency, but if you hum in that exact frequency, usually the answers will come right to you. And I think it was Marjorie Green. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But they were trying to say that she kicked a person where she's just trying to walk, and then this person's like keeps stepping in front of her. And I think she flat tired. If you guys ever saw Ace Ventura with the flat tire, Ace Ventura is standing behind the guy, he keeps flat tiring. I think it would be inaccurate to say that the guy kicked. But then one of the dudes in this video, the video starts with him grabbing a person and like stiff arming, pulling the shoulder back so then he can get to Marjorie Green and ask a question. So I just, that's the left for you. They get to pull moves like that. They get to pull stiff arms. And then if they walk right in front of you, they cut off your walking and then they get flat tire. They go, look, this was violence. I was kicked. And what I found more amusing, or I shouldn't say more amusing, what made this an interesting spectacle is Alex gets out there and, he's asking these people questions. They pulled a slightly different move, which is when I lived in high school, I lived at my high school, which was on a college campus. And me and my friends, we didn't have prefrontal cortexes yet. And before you have a prefrontal cortex, you just think things that are really annoying to other people are the funniest thing that ever happens. So like I would have a routine every single night. I would go to like the stores on my block. I get myself kicked out of the stores every night. That was my entertainment. we didn't have like these iPhones like we did now. You didn't have as much porn. We didn't have access to the internet. We didn't have a television. So we were entertaining ourselves, and my God was that at other people's expense. And we were very like funny about it because we were never like so bad that you could get in trouble, but like we were annoying. Like, and so one of the stunts that we used to pull, this was a lot of fun, is we would find one guy who would be walking, and these are Jewish kids. They wouldn't fight you. They were the college Jewish kids. And what we would do is we would crisscross in front of him and then stop right in front of him. And like, they would be like spaced out, like just trying to get to like whatever they were trying to do. And like, it would just be annoying. And like the second that they got out from around you, we would run almost like if you ever did that drill playing basketball where like you don't dribble and you just keep passing the ball. That's what we would do. We would just keep circling and weaving and stopping right in front of the guy just to be a pain in the ass. And it was funny to us. I'm sure the guy was like, what the hell is going on here? Why are these annoying high school kids doing this to me? But to us, it was, oh my God, was that a good time? And to think about how many times we could do that in a given day, we had a really good time with that. I mean, it's amazing the way we used to entertain ourselves. They had like these tables also, I'm remembering, and like they were kind of springy. We would just jump on them like trampolines. I used to go out every single night and bother the guy in the security booth. I was living out my fantasy of like the Animaniacs, where I just thought, if there's a security guard, you're supposed to annoy the guy. Then those turned out to be cool people. Anyways, that's what these people are fun at doing. They're cutting in front. They just keep cutting in front. They're asking these questions. Everybody is just talking past each other, where they just scoff at whatever you say because they've got the camera out and they just keep going. So you like killing kids, right? That's the reason why you have guns. You like killing kids. And it's like, are you really going to have a street debate of you yelling at me that I like killing kids? Is this the way that we're going to solve Second Amendment? And I got to say, there's something very cool that we live in a country so free that you can harass the politicians while they're coming and going from work. And like I said, Alex is doing the best job with it. He does. That might just be because I guess I lean a little bit more right at this point. So it could just be I'm just entertained by him and people are equally entertained by these other people. But there's no way this lasts forever. There's no way that like it's going to be an endless party where you can just go down to Washington, D.C. and TikTok harassing politicians. My guess is at some point they're going to enact some laws that are going to end that party, which is a shame because Alex was doing a great job with it. So here, let's watch the footage of these people harassing Marjorie Green Taylor. Here we go.
You're getting kids shot in school. Children. You're helping kids get shot in school. No, I'm not. Record me. I don't give a fuck. No, you're helping. You're a coward is what you are. How am I a coward? You're the one running away. You're the one running away. No, gun rights protect people. That stops people from... Oh, yeah, what does gun rights do for all the kids who keep getting shots in school? How am I a coward?
You're scared of guns.
Am I scared of guns?
You're scared of legal gun owners that want to protect their kids in school. Shame on you.
Are we doing well on sound on this, or is it doubling back? Or do I?
They take away your guns.
I want to live in a country where kids don't get shot. I want to live in a country where kids don't get shot. I don't think you like that.
You know what?
So you like living in a country where kids keep getting shot in school and dying?
We need access to the sidewalks.
I guess I don't have to hold it. Yeah. I thought I'd figured out a new system for sound. All right, I think you guys get it. And then some other lady. Oh, here, you can see this lady weave right in front of him. Look at the way she scoffs.
Yeah, that was you. That was you. I recognize your face. So just to be clear, Second Amendment just meant gun violence. The Second Amendment. How does the Second Amendment prevent gun violence? You're the one that believes.
How does the Second Amendment prevent gun violence? I'm so smart. If you just laugh at what you're saying, then you come off as the smartest person in the room. Maybe this is where Kamala got it from. She learned that if you just laugh when you talk, it comes off like you're above everybody else. And then they just go, oh, I guess that's the smartest person. They're laughing while they're talking. They must know more about this than I do. They're scoffing at the moment. So here, I wrote my list of questions that I'd like to get out there and and ask some of these people. So if I were to see Bernie Sanders, you got, hey, global warming is an immediate threat. Will you be selling one of your 3 homes to downsize your carbon footprint? Or you keep saying the climate is going to kill us. If it's enough of an emergency, can't you just turn on the machine the Jews use to control the weather? Or if you see Nancy Pelosi, you can be like, will the Inflation Reduction Act work as well as the placenta wrinkle cream? We've got a problem with families unable to feed their kids. Will you share some stock picks with the underprivileged? Or upon your passing, how much of your wealth are you going to leave to the kids of Epstein's Island? Or if I saw Lindsey Graham, you could be like, have you considered, instead of advocating for war, perhaps coming out of the closet and ending the battle with your sexuality? And then here was the last one I wrote. AOC, which Washington buildings would you topple first to accomplish the Green New Deal? And if dismantling buildings is really expensive, would you consider taking them down by flying planes into them? Hard-hitting questions. All right, now let's get into the I don't knows. These are all the big news topics. Everything that they're firing at you all day. You turn on your Twitters and everyone's yelling at it. You turn on your CNNs, they're yelling about it. You turn on your Fox, they're yelling. You go on everywhere. Everyone's fucking screaming this shit. And then I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I don't even understand it. So here, I'm just going to tell you the topics that everyone's yelling about that I don't even understand. First, dudes are apparently spending $75K to be a few inches taller. We're going to look at that one in a second. Apparently, if you're a short guy, you can spend $75,000. You can have the top of your legs broken off, and then you can have them reinsert a longer rod so that you can be like 3 or 4 inches taller. First, I'm going to spend $75K to be 3 or 4. I'm getting a bigger dick. Like that's, you know what I mean? I don't need 3 inches of height. Let's go 3 inches of dick length. Like that's where those inches should be. And I think that this is just proof that doctors are fucking suckering us. I mean, just anyone who's thinking about plastic surgery or whatnot, like you're being suckered. Can you believe that there's an industry of people going to med school and convincing you that this is a good idea? I mean, $75,000 to be a couple inches taller. Talk about just playing on some guy's insecurity where you're like, oh, yeah, you are short. Yeah, people do look down on you. Yeah, you're never going to have a career. Yeah, I'm just telling, like, all right. Also, your shortness, it's a gift because tall people, people just give them shit. And then at some point they have back pain and then they die. Short people, we actually live longer. That's the facts. Taller people, it seems all good and shit, but then they're dickheads because everyone seems to like them for no reason for being taller. If you're shorter, that's motivation to work hard. Just, achieve other shit or go buy yourself some Tom Cruise shoes. You might as well just cheat. You get yourself a couple inches, start wearing Timberlands all the time. Maybe you wear yourself, here's how you cover 4 inches. I'll tell you right now, you get yourself Timberlands and then like one of those higher hat trucker hats and you're good. There's 4 inches right there. You believe $75,000 to be a couple inches taller? All right, next we got the special master, right? And there's great bullshit going down on both sides here. We got on both sides. I can't even get a read on who's pulling more bullshit here. So you got the Justice Department is saying that they delaying the investigation could risk national security, which how can that be? How can it be that looking into this is going to delay that? Like you guys spent 2 years before you went to retrieve this shit. What is this imminent threat of the non-nuclear codes, items that could have been classified that Trump declassified? What is this imminent threat of the information that was placed there? And then this is from Newsweek, but Donald Trump, he's throwing some great bullshit back at them where apparently they asked him why he won't release the security footage of everything that was going on. And he responded, we wouldn't honestly, Sean, because the president cares too much about the agents and the enforcement that were just doing their job, Habba said. And we have been told that their lives could be put at risk. I'm calling bullshit on that. There's no way you're not releasing the tapes of, I guess, whatever the fuck they were doing in Donald Trump's office, just as a courtesy for the FBI agents that were in there. Calling bullshit on both sides. All right, this is the last two big news stories from last week. Once again, topics I don't know all that much about. So the first one is in Indiana, they're apparently going to do a near total abortion. I'd like to know, but what about if you were raped by corn? What if you were raped by corn? Or, is there even enough people in Indiana to have sex with that you're not having sex with your cousin? So isn't everything the incest clause? Or, how easy is it can you just claim you were raped? Be like, I don't want to press charges. And then how hard is it? Dude, with all those cornfields, you're telling me you can't build some secret abortion bunker that the cops wouldn't know about? You're really telling me that that's going to be the end of it? And then the last big story of the week was this tech collusion case where apparently somebody's suing these tech companies and they're getting files of correspondence between government. But no one seems to be explaining all that well who's suing who. And but maybe they're on the case. Maybe they're gonna prove the collusion between big government and big tech. So here's a couple of stories from the Washington Post in regards to this Donald Trump story. Let's go through it real quick. Washington Post. In asking the judge to back off at least part of her special master ruling, prosecutors had argued that Trump could not possibly have an attorney-client or executive privilege claim over classified documents, which by definition are the property of the federal government. Cannon roundly rejected these arguments in her filing, saying that whether the documents marked classified were actually classified is a matter of dispute. Trump's lawyer have suggested the documents may not be classified, but have not asserted in their court appearance or court filings that Trump declassified them. So what's interesting to me here is that basically the judge is like, yeah, you guys are the prosecutors. So the fact that you're just claiming that you're entitled to the information is exactly what's being in dispute. So no, I'm not just going to take the prosecutor's side on this. We're going to actually go through all of it. Which is interesting because we don't see all that often that like government typically just goes, oh, this is dangerous. Oh, that's medical misinformation. Then people just like to basically go, well, the government said it, so it's medical information. Oh, it's dangerous. Oh, it's important that we have these files. So it's nice to actually see a judge going like, well, that's not really a fair process that you just get to say that it's that way, which is why we're going to put someone to make an evaluation. The judge nevertheless said she did not necessarily believe the prosecutor's writing. The court does not find it appropriate to accept the government's conclusions on these important and disputed issues without further review by a neutral third party in an expedited and orderly fashion. Sounds fair to me. All right, let's read a little bit more. This is now from the New York Times because I thought that this was funny. Washington, the Justice Department asked an appeals court on Friday to let the FBI regain access to about 100 sensitive documents taken from the former President Donald J. Trump's residence in Florida. It did not try to block the appointee of an outside arbitrator to review other materials. So in other words, now they're like, listen, it's fine. You can get a guy to review the documents. Just these 100 documents, he can't look at them. Let's continue. In a 29-page filing, the department asked the appeals court not to submit the roughly 100 files marked as classified through the vetting process of the arbitrator known as special master, acquiring to the review for 11,000 other documents seized from Mr. Trump's home and resort Mar-a-Lago. The review has frozen the government's access to materials as it investigates Mr. Trump's handling of the documents. And now, if you already have a judge saying, I don't trust that you guys are categorizing everything appropriately, which is why we're going to inspect this, and they go, okay, that's fine, but we need to have, well, why this 100? Sounds to me like those might be the exact 100 that people would be disputing. Sounds like that might be the 100 that make you look pretty bad. I'm just going to throw it out there. I have a sneaking suspicion that some of these documents that they're claiming are classified and are claiming are Trump involved in obstruction of justice. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is some of the information that has been gathered or has been noted in regards to the beginning of government looking into Donald Trump. Maybe he left with, you can call it blackmail papers of he's like, yeah, I know what you guys did. I know you guys did me dirty. And so he left with some of that evidence. Now the government's like, we really need those papers back. And so they're claiming it's national security. They're claiming we've got OCD librarians. They're saying that we got to get this stuff on our shelves. I'm not saying that for fact, but at least that would make sense as to why they won't quite explain to us what these materials are and why they are so unbelievably dangerous. All right, now on the tech case that I was saying I don't quite fully understand. This is an opinion piece from the New York Post. Facebook spied on private messages of Americans who questioned 2020 election. Facebook has been spying on the private messages and data of American users and reporting them to the FBI if they express anti-government or anti-authority sentiments or question the 2020 election, according to sources within the Department of Justice. Under the FBI collaboration operation, somebody at Facebook red flagged these supposedly subversive private messages over the past 19 months and transmitted them in redacted form to the Domestic Terrorism Operation Unit at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. without a subpoena. So the claim is, even though the FBI goes, hey, these leads didn't get us anywhere, these weren't helpful. But the claim is, for example, every once in a while, people hit me up on Facebook that go, hey, you should read this document about medical misinformation. So potentially government could be sitting there and going Facebook can be scraping every single time amongst ourselves, we're sharing this information and then creating a file, which is essentially a spreadsheet of, hey, here's the people who are, doing this kind of information. And then they could probably pretty easily, firstly, I think the NSA has all this information on us anyways. They just got to backdoor their way into it if they want to. But it wouldn't be that hard to look at the social influence of each person that they're flagging as sharing it, even though I guess you would flag those people from other locations. Nevertheless, it's still pretty creepy to see the direct correspondence between the tech companies in government, because we know that government can claim that they're doing things out of concerns for safety, out of concerns for people's health. They can make all these claims. Hey, the environment's going to kill you tomorrow. They can take their opinions and then claim the morality of God, like Fauci did. Hey, you can't question the Lord of Science. And that's how you end up without free speech. That's how you end up without the ability to question whether or not what's happening makes sense. This is how you remove. By the way, I believe they might get rid of the ability of these people in the Senate to go do stock trades. And that's because they're reporting on Nancy Pelosi. So don't think for 1 second that reporting and actually shedding light on this stuff doesn't make a difference. A lot of us were influenced to not go get the vaccines because of information that we were able to get on social media, which then later, as much as they tried to shut that down, at least there was a little bit of a warning signal early on of like, hey, they might not be giving you all the honest information. So on this note, we have a judge who's confirming for us, hey, the fact that you got the government just coming in and they want to categorize something in their particular interest, that doesn't necessarily make it true. Hey, you guys are the prosecutors. You're trying to get this guy in trouble. And so, no, you can't just claim that this information should not be looked at from a third party. I mean, that doesn't that usually come down to like every one of these situations? Like, think about it with the CDC. They had all the information about breakthrough infections and otherwise they didn't share it with us. And then if we were to demand, hey, show us the information, I'm sure it would be the same thing where they would go, oh, that would make for a dangerous situation. That would be a threat to everybody's health. Like, well, why? You guys have the information. Why can't we at least just review it? So on that note, I'd like to play this from Josh Hawley grilling an FBI guy, not an FBI guy, grilling a Facebook guy about their correspondence between Facebook and government. Here we go.
It directly encourages violence, which would not be constitutionally protected. So it appears to all be constitutionally protected speech on, I might add, very politically sensitive topics that Facebook is directly working with the U.S. government to target and remove. Is that your company policy to do this kind of thing?
Senator, we were quite public about our cooperation with health organizations during the unprecedented time of COVID. We knew that people expected and wanted accurate information on our platform. We had conversations with the CDC, with the World Health Organization, and with other public health organizations, not just in the US, but abroad, in order to understand how to help make sure that folks weren't getting information that could cause imminent harm.
Fair enough. So you're
handsome guy just saying, yeah, of course we did. Of course. You got government agencies and they're making declaration about health. We don't want people to have bad health information, so we're calling them up. In other words, there's no free to speech. In other words, there's no ability to question government on these platforms because government could, for example, say, hey, people like me are dangerous. We got to go round them up. And then Facebook, oh, well, the government said that guy's dangerous, which is
it
not
directly
too far
encourages
off. I actually
violence.
just recently discovered I'm not allowed to do any Facebook or Instagram advertising. And I think that's because of my administrator status when the part of the problem had a page. All right, now this is from Zero Hedge. I think it's worth looking at this chart because while they're pretending, hey, everyone can have an electric vehicle. We can get ourselves windmills and we can have our electric vehicles and everyone, we're going to have credits so everyone can afford them. But what happens when you actually end up in a landscape where the only thing you're allowed to own is an electric vehicle? Is that going to be a current day pricing? What about all these rare minerals like your lithiums and your other things that are needed for batteries? And so this chart is showing you the skyrocketing prices, even in this current environment where not everyone is going out to buy an electric vehicle. But the point being, if they step in and they continue to mandate like California that you can't have your gas vehicle, and then they pretend, well, look at these costs and you're going to save them over. Yeah, but that's at current costs. That's not if you actually up the demand for the product. If you up the demand for the product, you could end up with these cars being so expensive that any savings from other things don't pay off over time. All right, and then this is last news story that we're gonna cover for today. I thought that this one, actually, you know what? I'm gonna save this one for another episode. That's enough for today. Everybody listening, please come out next weekend in Maryland. It's an hour south of Philly, right off of I-95, and about an hour north of it's not far from Baltimore. Unbelievable show at Fifth Street Brewing Company. Incredible beers. Myself, Menu and Heart, BK Chris, Justin Silver. That's going to be a killer show. What else I got going on? Not a whole lot. We're going to be doing a lot more podcasting until I set up more tour dates. As always, shout out to Sheath. Go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code RYM, you get 20% off. The most comfortable boxers ever known to man. And come to one of these live events. Everyone walks up to me, they show me their Sheath. They're like, this thing saved my life. No one said save my life, but people have said that it's a game changer and that they'll never go back to regular underwear again. And then, of course, we got Yo Kratom, home of the $60 kilo. And then we're going to have a third part of this episode coming at you right now, which is, listen to as much of it as you like. Send me some feedback, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Hate Watch Party, episode 1 of the first episode of Hillary Clinton's Gutsy. Have a good evening, everyone.